Get stacked.
Triple threat.
Expected value. Now take what you learn, go out there, and get stacked.
What up, Gripsters and random YouTubers? Evan here for Grips.com with part 2 of Ben Yu's deep run in the Mini FTOPS Main Event for 30K USD. In part 1, we saw that Ben is playing a very loose style. In fact, I think that's an understatement. I think even me saying an extremely loose style would be an understatement. He's defending his blinds very wide. He's 3-betting even wider. And he's bringing the pressure post-flop as well. It's worked out for him so far, despite being a bit of a stressful go. But he hasn't been all in and called for his tournament life yet. And he's built his stack up to over 4x starting stack. So, if you haven't watched part 1 yet, please go back and check it out. And for everyone else, which is probably everyone watching, let's get back into it. So we have like 70 bigs, which is a nice place to be. And Ben, we see that despite the fact he's playing extremely wide out of the blinds and extremely wide when it comes to 3-bets, he is not opening loosely from early position. Went for that open, got jammed on, not going to be calling with the 6-5 off. Although, just interesting, looking at the pot odds, we only need 37.9% equity to call. And we're probably not that far off even against like a really strong range. 6-5's pretty fucking weak. But I'm just curious. You know, top 10%, no, but top 20? No, just the fact that our high card is a 6 really kills us. If our high card was like even a 10, that might, nah, okay. If we have like 10-9, maybe a call. Yeah, it's close. Whatever. You guys are like, dude, Grips is spending like 30 seconds seeing if he can call a reshove with 6 high. Come on, man. I'm just like, hey, you never know what you might find out if you actually take the time to examine a spot. And their opponent just check folds, surrendering the pot to us. And that's one of the benefits you're going to get from playing a crazy style, is that people are just going to roll over and let you have a lot of pots that otherwise you would have to fight a bit for. So Ben leads out on the middling board. I think it's, oh yeah, or the pre-flop razor, of course, we c-bet there. And turning the ace, it's a spot where I think he wanted to get to showdown. Spot, like, you could definitely bet for value, but it really sucks if you bet out and then get raised. You aren't necessarily drawing dead when they do that. They don't necessarily only have flushes and straights. Some players may do that with just like a flush blocker, you know, a flush draw card. More often than not, you're probably drawing dead, so bet folding could be good, but it's not certain. Checking almost ensures that you can get to showdown by going check call and maybe check call again, and it will get wider calls on the river, or yeah, we just had him coolered and caught that perfect turn card, and actually probably could have got 3 streets. It's a decent sized pot, and that's what happens when the blinds are decently big. So here we go, raising the button. Ben's probably going to be raising something like, I don't know, 70% of buttons. But he will not be defending 6-9 suited when it's for an all-in play. Here we're looking at a 16 big blind shove, and we're getting 1.2 to 1, needing 45%. Ben opts to ISO, and I'm quite interested in this spot. If your opponent's shoving a pretty narrow range, it's actually not a great spot to be calling. And for 15 big blinds, I think a lot of times you are going to see something like this, something pretty strong, because 15 big blinds is quite a lot. Maybe throw in a king-queen suit, it's there as well, and 8s and 7s. Still, we're we're pretty far down from being able to call. The thing is, in these smaller buy-in tournaments, I keep saying that, even though it's like a 75, but it's a Mini FTOPS Main Event with lots of satellite players who are in for $1. These guys may not know how to shove correctly, so they may just be whacking it in with anything like this. You know, they see their 15 big blinds, they think they're pretty short stacked. And if they're shoving a range like this of any Broadway, any pair, calling with ace-jack is going to be profitable. I personally would probably fold here, but that also probably has to do with the fact that on average I'm playing bigger buy-ins where people, you know what to shove and what not to shove, and therefore my calling range is adjusted accordingly. When people are shoving wider, you're going to want to be calling wider. When people are shoving narrower, fewer hands than is optimal, you probably want to be calling with fewer hands as well. Anyway, nice stack, Ben, up to 70K, and that's quite the large 3-bet. From 2.7 bigs to 27 bigs. And he had the aces. Nice hand, Gallia, 2111110. Sounds like a guy who would 27x with aces, huh? Guy with a name like that. For anyone who hasn't, I did a video on donk and fishy screen names, and that is definitely one that would make the cut. It's really funny how, you know, that video was made 5-6 years ago and the information's still true. I guess that's what makes it evergreen content. All right, so here we get 1.6 to 1. Unfortunately, I already showed you guys this guy's hand, but here, actually, we're probably dealing with a bit of a wider range than we were in the other spot, but it's similar to the spot where the guy was open shoving. But with it being later positions, this guy's more able to just like have like 9-8 suited or 7-8 suited because he's like thinks it looks pretty and may be able to get a fold. So I think the call here for 12 big blinds perfectly fine. It's right on. Oh, we got a half a chip. It's like right on the cusp of break even, losing or profitable. 5-4 is definitely not on the cusp. It's definitely on the losing side due to that high card of 5 just not being very useful. Very helpful for all in pots, but that 8, that's a helpful card for sure. So helpful that Ben opts to slow play, give his opponent a free card, hoping that maybe he hit a king, or maybe he picked up a flush draw, and that's why he was able to call one bet. I think with so much stack behind, 8 times the pot left, that fast playing the flop is a good way to go. I just think it's so hard to hit sets that when you do, you might as well try to build the pot as big as possible. And the way to make the pot as big as possible is to start building it as quickly as possible. Because, as you guys should know, pots grow exponentially, not geometrically. And if you don't understand what that means, just write in the comments, yo gripst, da fuck, and I will be happy to explain that concept. I mean, it's really just mathematical language, so anyone with a mathematical background will probably understand it, and people who are more into like the arts and literature may not be familiar with the terminology, but trust me, it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty simple. All right, we're back to that 3-betting. And this is interesting to see. Ben is 3-betting an opener who has 20 big blinds with the ace blocker. 5,900 to win about 6K. One of those spots where it needs to work half the time. And as long as pure EV is raising a steal sometimes, we're probably going to get that 50% success rate. Now, interesting is what odds Ben would be getting if the guy shoved. Let's see, 22K more would put about 34K in the middle, and we're looking at like like 18K to call. We won't quite be getting 2-1, so we could probably 3-bet fold in that spot. 7-8 suited. Even though we're 40 big blinds deep, I don't even think it's deep enough. And with so many players left tack behind us, just not a great spot. Ace King, again, someone who could be 3-betting light. It's always a good spot. 4-ball it, take it down. All right. So this is interesting. Ben just flats here with the 9-7 suited in a similar spot to the Ace-4 where he opted to 3-bet now. Neither hand is super strong, although on that turn it's pretty strong. But the 9-7 suited has a bit more value when it comes to flopability, the ability to make hands, to pick up draws, to flop equity, whereas the Ace-4 either kind of flops a bunch of equity in hitting an ace, trips, or 2-pair, or no equity. You don't really flop like a lot in the way of flush draws or straight draws with a hand like Ace-4. Where are there 3 straight draws you can flop and they're all gutters. Interesting that Ben doesn't 2-barrel here. I think Sigyn is more likely to have ace high than he is to have a pocket pair when he checks into 2 people. I think in a heads up situation, he might get like a little fancy with a big pair, but with 2 other players in the pot, I feel like he's more likely to just be trying to shut down ace high, and he would bet for value with a pocket pair. So we miss, and on that river, definitely can't call. Really feels like ace high that made a pair of aces, and yeah, I don't think it would look too credible if we tried to raise there. So I think it's a spot where we could have 2-barreled. To bet again and get shoved on would kind of suck. We have a flush draw and a gutter, which is good for like 25% equity. There's probably a size that we can make it where we can bet fold. There's also probably a size, you could just bet like 8,500 if the guy jams, you call, but you also can make him fold. You get value from folding out some hands that actually have you beat at this point, and against the ones that have you beat. You make a pot odds call. In terms of the actual pot, yeah, 24K into 17K. You're making a small losing call because you probably need like 13K or so for it to be break even. But with the fold equity in there, I think that makes up for it. So it's just such a strong turn, such a fantastic turn for your hand that I think it's worth it to go for it. Ooh, we needed that. We definitely needed that turn after we got called on that flop. So opponent's called twice. I'm going to guess ace-jack. Oh, man. Not the right river. And, if he does have ace-jack, that's unfortunate. Question is, could he have hands other than ace-jack as well? As Tony Dunst would say. Let's break it down. So, we c-bet. Our opponent calls the flop. He's defended from the big blind, so he's going to have the widest range he will have of any position. So he can be calling with straight draws, most of which we block, so not that likely to have jack 10 or king jack or king 10. He can have an ace, he can have a 9, and he can have a queen. Now on the turn, the gut shots that we didn't block have now made their straights. Probably going to check raise those. But for him to call another turn bet, I don't think he can just have like a random queen, like queen 7 or something. That's not enough to justify calling. For him to call the turn, he needs to either have a hand like a strong ace that, well, they all have gut shots. Ace king, ace jack, or 2-pair. Or if he has a 9 or a queen, he has to have something to go with it. So if he has a 9, he needs to have like a flush draw to go with it. Or a straight draw, like a jack 9, or a 9 of hearts. And if he has a queen, he probably needs to have like queen king or queen jack, because he has a straight draw to go with his pair. So when he puts this in on the river, it's obviously a very gross spot because the jack makes a straight. Now we're getting 2.4 to 1. We need to be right here, around a third of the time. So the question is, does he have a jack twice as often, more than twice as often as he has something that doesn't have a jack? Anything that made 2 pair, or the 9x with hearts that missed, are the hands that we're beating. It does seem unlikely he would just like front shove with 2 pair unless he was turning his hand into a bluff. So we're probably looking at, he probably checks for this, so we're probably looking at he has a jack sometimes and he has the missed flush draw sometimes. He could also have a ace x of hearts, the same as he could have 9x of hearts. So he only needs to be bluffing 1 time out of 3. So that's it. You guys break down his range and you can figure out how often he has each one. The more 9s he defends, the more often he's going to have that missed flush draw. We know which jacks he can have. Ace jack, king jack, queen jack, 10 jack, 9 jack. 8 jack probably folds to the flop, jack 8. So at first, we have 9-8 of hearts, but he knows with 9-7, 9-6, 9-5. I know, it's a close spot, but a fantastic call by Ben. It's always a gross spot when they do that. I feel like they have it when they do it. But occasionally they don't. And I would say beware of these guys who are playing loose and crazy, or seemingly crazy, seemingly maniacal, because they're the ones who are going to be like, you know what, bro? I want to see those cards. 30K? I don't care. I just want to see those cards. Show me that you actually have the hand that you're representing, because I just don't buy it. Another thing to factor in is whether or not the guy, Master Kid, coming at us with the 3-bet again. Whoa. Just want to be sure. Yeah, that's the guy that 3-bet us before. So he could definitely be doing it light. It makes sense for us to 4-bet him back. I think he's doing it because of stacks. But wow. Cold 4-bet. And Ben is in there with the 5-bet. Wow, I told you guys this man plays aggro. What do we got? We got the ace blocker. That's it. It's suited. Man, so we're looking at 22K to win 24K. Around like that 45% success rate. We know Master Kid could be full of shit. We already saw them do this. The question is whether or not Sigan can be cold 4-betting. It's a bluff. But you know what? It's not even just that. He doesn't even have to be bluffing. Sigan could be cold 4-betting for value with like jacks or like ace queen suited or something. Fuck it. Even ace king. When we 5-bet from this position, what do you do if you're Sigan and you got ace king? What do you do if you're Sigan and you got jacks or queens? They don't look so good anymore, right? So even if he's not bluffing, this 5-bet can work to fold out like a ton of his value range. And remember, it only has to work half the time. So this is a crazy play. I'm going to be extremely impressed if it works. Wow. I guess it's what you call a field player. Someone who can identify those spots. And he just picked up so much in that pot. 24K, right? From 131 to 153, like 22K. That's a big chip up. And it also is probably going to get Master Kid to slow down on the 3-bets and Sigan as well. It kind of buys some credibility. It buys making this table easier to play. And it buys making this a bit of a smoother ride than it would otherwise be. And we're trying to get it back. 3-bet, flop top pair. When you 3-bet with king 6 off, this is one of the flops you're looking for. And c-bet. Once we get called, we may have the best hand if Master Kid's got, nines through queens. If he has a king, it's probably going to be better than ours. And if he has aces, obviously he's got us beat. So, facing a bet here. Not sure. If he's floating the flop with like ace highs and stuff that he then feels he has to turn into a bluff, this could be a call. If he's going to turn his mid pairs into bluffs as well, it could be a call. If he's just going to take those to showdown, then I feel like we're usually beat when he bets here. And I think that he's probably most likely to do that. So I actually think that despite the fact we have top pair in this 3-bet pot, I don't think that our hand is going to be good. So I like a fold, but that's just me. Ben ups to jam. This is outside the box, unorthodox creative play. All those hands he could have been turning into a bluff. Well, we have them beat anyway, so this play isn't designed to move those hands out. But I think this play is designed to try to get Master Kid to fold like a king that he may be value betting. Maybe even ace king or aces. Ben's trying to rep like 9s or 8s here and get those hands to fold. It's definitely a high risk play. 86K to win 72. So whatever, we need 60%. Unfortunately, when your opponent has the hand that you were trying to rep, well, it's hard to get them to fold. So that is a big burn to our stack. Damn. I think we probably could have just folded the river there, but what are you going to do? For what it's worth, I was about to mention this before the hand. This is probably around the bubble of the tournament, since Big Blind is about a fifth of the starting stack. It's probably getting pretty close. Probably make the money around like 3K Big Blind. So that's gonna make things a little more, make the play a little more justifiable in that, you know, pressure's on, and when you're on the bubble, people are going to be playing a bit more aggressive, and you're also going to be able to get more folds out of your opponents. Anyway, Ben gets a nice reship through with the ace king of clubs, takes one down with the ace 7, and flops top pair with the king to get back to 50K. We're not there yet, but we're partway back to getting back to our stack. Alright, defending versus that? Nah. Stacks are a little shallower than they were. Right when I was about to say stacks are shallower, so I think Ben will be defending less. He's right in there with the king 6 off. Takes it to showdown. Unfortunately got turned. But, you know, hard to expect to be too good with king high. But for what it's worth, we do get pretty good odds here. 36.50 to win 10K. With the overlay of the blinds, the big blind in particular, and the antes. So it's interesting defending wide from the small blind. You do get a very good price, and if the big blind's a nitty player, he's almost never going to continue. So it's like you're defending the big blind, but you're getting better overlay on your money. All right, and a 3-bet. Interesting turn bet. Very interesting. Ben, let us know about that one, because I thought you were just taking it to showdown when you didn't bet the flop. I realized we turned some equity. Are you folding him off? Just trying to fold him off like ace jack and ace 10 and stuff? You're trying to charge him if he has a worse diamond? Because I know he's not folding the ace queen. Ace king again, little 3-bet to 5-bet, and Sigan. What an idiot. Getting it in for 5 bets with ace queen. Has he not watched World Poker Tour? #1 bust out hand. You should know better than that. And we get a hold, and we're back to the stack we were before that absurd hand with Master Kid. I still don't know if I'm down with it, but whatever, you know, gets us thinking, and here we go again. 5 bets? Yeah, get it through. So quite the battle going on between Ben and Master, and this is what happens when you create an aggressive dynamic. Once you start, you know, poking someone, or maybe it's a slap or a tap or a punch, I don't know. The more you get in someone's face with these clickings and with these raises and just these aggressive plays, the more they're going to want to fight back, and the more often they're just going to be going at you with nothing because they figure you're going at them with nothing. And it does create for some volatile situations, some high variance situations, certainly. But it does make it such that if you get a big hand, you are much more likely to get paid than you would have been if you know, haven't been playing a hand and you're running a 4 on your stats. Like, you're just not going to get action. So here, Ben doing his stubborn thing. I mean, he's got a top pair. This guy could have a jack that he floated with and is now betting. He could have a gut shot. He could have a flush draw. He actually had 2 pair. Made a bit of a nitty check back on the river. But this comes with the territory. If you're going to play this wild, loose style, people are going to be going after you, and you have to be willing to call down in some spots when you're getting decent odds to, you know, how should I put this? To defend yourself against the fact that they're going to be going after you, thinking you don't have much very often. You have to make sure to stand your ground. And this is a cool play, floating on the king high board, and then just kind of repping everything. Get our opponent to fold all small pairs, all ace highs that are chopping with us, and you know, we could have an 8 easily. We could also have a king that we're value betting, so I like that play. 3 bet once again with the intention of 5 betting, and holy shit, what did we get ourselves into here? Well, oh man, 80K to win 190. We're getting better than 2 to 1. We're getting 2.4 to 1. We're never folding, and now we're the idiot putting it in with the ace queen against the ace king. It's good to make the nuts. I think, you know, it's important to be careful with ace queen. When you're shallow stacked, by all means, get it in with ace queen. It's no big deal, you know, 20, 30, 40 blinds. Maybe not 40. How many did we even have here? Like 50. But yeah, once you get in that 40, 50, 60 range, with ace queen, it's pretty risky to get it in unless you know that you're up against someone who's going to get it in with like ace jack and king queen, which they do exist out there, but there are few and far between. So in spots like this, maybe just call the 4 bet, or maybe even just call the open. Not saying doing it every time, but just think of it as an option, because to get in this many blinds with ace queen without reads and stuff, I just think it's a little too high variance. It's a little too high risk. It's a little unnecessary. But, you know, you may also get it in against jacks, 10s are never folding in those spots, and 9s and stuff. And you got decent equity against those. You're flipping against those. And if you win those pots, you have a lot of chips. And you're going to rip one off here too? Sure. Why not? Once we flop a flush draw, only with 4 times the pot left after our c-bet, you can't really fold here. Even if you think the guy's like got a set or something, just like, you got too much equity with your flush draw. So, boom, get there again. And Ben has a lot of chips. Ben has a lot of chips. And so does everyone in this tournament. That's the fun thing about Mini FTOPS, is you get to play a lot of deep stacked poker. It's different than most of the tournaments you're going to play on a regular daily grind. So Ben checks back the mid pair, gets looked up pretty light by 6s there. I understand the turn call, having a flush draw, and could be the best hand. The river call, he's just hoping that Ben has like ace jack or king jack or something, but I think we're more likely to just bet those hands on the flop if we're going to be bluffing with them. And if not, we're just going to check down the whole way. Anyway, a lot of wild action there. A lot of good plays. And a lot of good board runouts for us. That's what it takes to win tournaments. Good play combined with great luck. So anyway, that's going to wrap up part 2. Again, thank you for tuning in. I hope you were able to learn something in this video and that you can use it to step up your win rate and big up your bankroll. This has been Evan for Grips.com. Always a pleasure. Now take what you learned, go out there, and get stacking.
Yeah, we get it stacking. Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking. The flops I be smashing, the pots I be blasting. Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking. When the main event, man, that could never happen. The Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking. Now you're picking up traction, getting action. Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking.
Stack it up, cash it in, damn I win again. Many friends come to play, cause I'm on the internet. Better yet, I flop the turn and take a chance upon the river. I'll bluff you with the 7-2 offsuit, whatever's clever, call you all in while your chip stacks falling. Better believe the dealer, cause the game just started. Don't know the rules, you bet it all and then you risk it. If you wanna learn it, you should go online and hit up Grips it.
Yeah, we get it stacking. Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking. The flops I be smashing, the pots I be blasting. Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking. When the main event, man, that could never happen. The Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking. Now you're picking up traction, getting action. Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking. Ever since a young cat, want a pocket stack with cash in the fast stack, crammed in the clam clip. Gotta get the action, gotta get it stacking. Dollars on the noggin, want a lot of transactions. Started as a little retarded, now with the knowledge, playing cards, flopping, bombarded cause it was harder than I thought. Then I got on Grips.com, asking and got what I needed to be to me get it stacking. Yeah, we get it stacking. Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking. The flops I be smashing, the pots I be blasting. Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking. When the main event, man, that could never happen. The Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking. Now you're picking up traction, getting action. Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking. Yeah, we get it stacking. Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking. The flops I be smashing, the pots I be blasting. Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking. When the main event, man, that could never happen. The Grips.com taught you how to get stacking. Now you're picking up traction, getting action. Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking. Yeah, we get it stacking. Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking. The flops I be smashing, the pots I be blasting. Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking. When the main event, man, that could never happen. The Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking. Now you're picking up traction, getting action. Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking.